Hello and welcome to the Football Show Monday. My name is Wale and it's nice to be with you again today. On a sunny day, actually. It's been sunny all through London where we are. And it's been a wonderful day, really. And to those out there, especially Chelsea fans out there, I guess it must have been a wonderful weekend for every one of us. I've let the cat out of the bag now. I'm a thorough Chelsea fan. We're still celebrating. I actually lost a bit of my voice by screaming and jubilating. But it's so nice to be with you all. It's a football show Mondays about this time on YouTube Live. I've got two very special guests with me today. One of them is an Arsenal fan, and he's obviously seen his own bit of displeasure and hate as far as Arsenal Football Club is concerned. He's Yemi Alfoladio. Yemi, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Wonderful occasion for us Chelsea fans.
Oh yeah. Congratulations to all the Chelsea fans out there. It's nice to be on the show. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Yemi. And also, I've got Mark Adebeshi, a seasoned prolific film director who is, apart from being a film director, a movie director, is also a thoroughbred Chelsea fan. Mark is going to be joining us at some point. We're going to be discussing that great game against Man City and the way forward for Chelsea after winning the Champions League for the second time. First time was, as you know, 2012, when we had the likes of John Terry, Didier Drogba, and Frank Lampard. Obviously, terrific team that team was. So, without much ado, Yemi, I know we had a discussion before this game. Okay, I think it was on a Friday, or Thursday, Friday before. We had a discussion. We were analyzing the game itself. And you were very sure that Chelsea was going to win, even though I was skeptical. I was thinking, we're playing, Chelsea is playing arguably the best team in the world, not top of Europe. That's Man City.
Yeah.
And obviously, they've got very talented bunch of players, a well-bred, tactical and experienced coach and manager in Pep Guardiola. But you were very adamant. You were saying, no, you're going to win. You're going to win. What gave you that confidence that we were going to win that game?
I think it was just from the way that Chelsea had approached the two games that they had with Man City prior to the final. The first one was in the FA Cup. I believe it was a semi-final. And the strategy was such that we'll be tight at the back. Stay strong and, limit the space as much as possible. Just don't allow allow them to have the ball, but not in dangerous areas. And in the final third, there's not a lot of space. They didn't leave a lot of space for Man City to operate. And it worked to a T. So they will nick the ball from Man City, go on the break with their speedy forwards, Mason Mount, Timo Werner, thinking that FA Cup Ziyech played, and then, all the forwards are just speedy. And I get why they don't play Olivier Giroud because, yes, he's a point man, but the approach play and the way they run off the ball and with the ball, it wouldn't have fitted in. So that's why, the speed on the counter was absolutely lethal and it absolutely killed Man City. It worked in that game in the FA Cup. They did it again in the league game at Etihad. It was like watching a carbon copy of the FA Cup game. It was almost exactly the same. And I think after that second victory for Chelsea, it probably would have been playing on Man City's mind and Pep especially that, this Thomas Tuchel side is a problem for me. And we have to face them in the biggest game of the season on the 29th of May in the Champions League final. So I just had that feeling that it was going to repeat itself. I wasn't, many felt that, because Chelsea lost the FA Cup final to Leicester, and that they lost the last game of the season in the league to Aston Villa that Chelsea were on a downward turn, and then in the final City would roll over them. Well, I just didn't feel that. I felt that Chelsea in that final will absolutely turn up. So, and that's exactly what happened. There were many made the excuse for Man City that okay, in that first FA Cup game, City weren't really taking it too seriously, and that in the league, that they had already won the league, so they didn't really need that game against Chelsea. But you could tell that, the way the psychology of the game is, yeah. If you start losing to an opponent repeatedly, it plays on your mind. You start having doubts. It doesn't matter how good you are, you will start having doubts and you start making plans to maybe try something different. And I think that's what happened in the final. Pep tried something totally different, but
And you
absolutely,
mean, sorry to cut you short. And he tried something different, something actually that everyone seemed to be talking about right after
yeah,
the final.
yeah,
You played a game, very offensive set of players.
yeah,
You started Ike Gundogan instead of your strong men,
yeah.
Rodri or
And
Fernandinho.
Fernandinho, yeah,
And what did you, for some people they said maybe he was way too overconfident that okay, don't worry, it's just Chelsea. We've
yeah,
dealt with them twice, although we lost to them twice. I think I've got an idea on how to defeat them. Was that a I know Pep has spoken about it and he said, well, I know my players, I know they were Gundogan was able to do. He's always been playing in that position anyway
yeah,
and popping
yeah,
in to score the goals. Maybe
yeah,
that was an excuse. Maybe
yeah,
Fernandinho wasn't chucking enough goals. Rodri obviously
yeah,
wasn't contributing goal wise, and he chose to go offensively with the players he had that time.
yeah.
Was that a tactical suicide on the
I,
part of
I, it
Guardiola?
it turned out to be exactly that. It turned out to be tactical
Mm,
suicide because I think his plan was that okay, I'm going to flood my team with every creative player that I've got, every player that I've got who can attack,
mm,
and then and they were absolutely going to go all out against Chelsea, suffocate
mm,
Chelsea with possession and chances that Chelsea would not have the ability, to use the turnover,
mm,
and catch us on the counter attack. Well, I just thought it was just a weird choice in the biggest game
mm,
of the season. Something that worked for him since January of this year, since the second half of the season started, had worked so well for him ever since he beat Chelsea at Stamford Bridge,
mm.
with Frank in charge. Yeah,
Yeah.
they went on a roll, and
Hmm.
it ultimately got them the league title. And basically, what he did was that he's been playing Fernandinho as sort of like the destroyer in the midfield, or
Yeah.
Rodri sometimes. The thing
Hmm.
is that with Fernandinho is that he breaks up play quite early,
Hmm.
and he does a lot of tactical fouling. So
Yes.
it disrupts the opposition from being able to counter them. So I don't understand for the life of me why he did not bring him on in the final or start him in the final. I mean, we've been used to him not playing strikers for some time now, and he's been working. But I think, the idea of playing without any holding midfielder, it just didn't make any sense because then he started Sterling, who hasn't been starting for a while. I saw
Hmm.
Man City against PSG. They were absolutely fantastic from like the midway point of the game. They absolutely took over and completely, they absolutely mastered a PSG in Paris and in Manchester. Why did he change from that? Yeah, granted, Chelsea is a different proposition. Chelsea is slightly more defensive. Well, a lot more defensive than
City.
PSG.
Oh
So,
yeah.
so he thought that okay, I've tried my 4-3-3 against him twice, and it didn't work. So he just decided to play to me what looked like 4-0-6.
That's a
It
new
just
one. 406.
it just did not. I just could not work it out. I saw the lineup. There was
Mm,
no Fernandinho, no Rodri. I thought they were injured, but I saw they were both on the bench. So
mm,
he wanted to catch Chelsea by surprise, and I
mm,
think Arsene Wenger he captured it brilliantly when he said that I don't. His exact words skipped my mind now, but he says that he mentioned the fact that those two previous defeats to Chelsea had an impact. on Pep's plan for the final, and he's gone and produced the formation and a lineup totally different to what he's been used to, what's been working for him, in the hope that Chelsea will be suffocated by his attacking prowess. It just didn't work. The first 5 minutes, they sort of like tried to cage Chelsea in, but Chelsea recovered, and then even throughout the game, they never really had that that possession where they're in your final third and having chance after chance. I think they only had one shot on target throughout the game.
Yeah, alternate throughout the game.
Yeah, it just didn't work. I think if he had used his normal formation, he would have given himself more of a chance. Though I still think Chelsea would have won, but it made it a lot easier for Chelsea. He made it a lot easier with his formation. So I think he was overthinking things. He was over analytical. He's a genius of a manager, but he's human. The psychology of the game got to him. Chelsea's had got better of him twice within a short time. And he thought, no, I can't allow it to happen a third time in the biggest game of the season. So I'm going to try something no one's expecting. It didn't work. It didn't work. Yeah.
And fair play to you, Yemi. You actually did analyze this to me Friday evening when we spoke. I think it was about we were in another radio show in Nigeria, both of us, and you perfectly, even before the show, analyzed to me what even though as a thorough Chelsea fan, I was like, how are we going to beat these guys today? And you did analyze everything. Obviously, you did mention that I think Pep is going to overthink this final and make a mistake. So fair play to you there. Tell me. Go on.
I was going to say, is this the approach Chelsea used in beating Man City over the course of 3 games is very similar to what Man United have done this season, and I think a bit of last season as well. Basically, be very, very disciplined in defense and have absolute, basically Usain Bolt speed-like players on the counter. That's what I think in the first league game of the season it was a draw with Man United, and in the second game, Man United won that game. They used the speed of Rashford and Greenwood and the finishing of Cavani. So because it was quite similar, so I think that seems to be the template for beating Man City. So Man United and Chelsea particularly have choked the way, but you've got to have the right kind of players to pull it off. Yeah.
Tell me, Chelsea before Thomas Tuchel came in were like a free for all. Frank was there. Frank did magnificently well in the first season. Obviously being an icon, legend in the team. Did what he could. There's this school of thought that said it was too early for him to take that job. He probably should have gotten 1 or 2 more years in wherever team was going to go before coming to Chelsea. And that was the wrong time to come to Chelsea. But Tuchel came in and had a plan, and he stuck to that plan. One of the first plan was obviously to show off the defense, which was obviously very leaky during Frank's time. Frank was very rigid with this kind of formation. It's either he plays his 4-3-3 and finding it very difficult to adapt to tactical changes, especially when he faces teams he can't break down. And Thomas came in, TT came in, and like, all right. So what do I do? Recall Rudiger, short of that defense, went 3 at the back, and he was all smooth sailing until we played a couple of games where obviously we lost to now relegated West Brom and some other team. Where did it go wrong for Frank, apart from what I have said? And where do you think was the key changes Tuchel made, apart from this correcting the defense? It sort of made it very hard for Chelsea, people to score against Chelsea. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely, yeah. I think you've already mentioned it. I think the key for him was making the team more defensively disciplined. It just, I think in the first 10 or 11 games, Chelsea did not concede any goal apart from the when and
The
apart
own
from
goal. The
yeah
own goal. Yeah.
yeah. So I think he basically made what he did was it was quite it's not easy, but his plan, his approach was simple. He played to the team's strengths.
Mm.
Yeah. So he knew that this team has a lot of young, very, technically sound, and most especially, most importantly, really, really quick, pacey forwards and
Well,
midfielders.
he had pacey forwards in PSG, too, but he didn't play like
It
that.
did,
He had
but
Mbappe.
it did have it PSG, but I think as a unit at
Okay.
PSG, there was a
Mhm.
lack of discipline.
Okay.
Neymar and Mbappe did not really want to put in the work on the
Mhm.
other when it comes to the other side of the game, the
Yeah.
defensive side of
Yeah.
the game. When they didn't
Yeah.
have the ball, Neymar and Mbappe pretty much left the work to the remaining 8 outfield players.
Mhm. Mhm.
Whereas at Chelsea, everyone defended when they didn't have the ball, and all it takes is just one little chink in your armor, and everything comes crashing down. And I think
Mhm.
that was PSG's undoing, and that's still their undoing till now.
Yeah.
Neymar especially, he
Mhm.
does not defend when he doesn't have the ball, and
Mhm.
PSG did not close down spaces the way that Chelsea, and also remember Chelsea have one weapon which every club in the world wishes they had, and that is N'Golo Kante.
N'Golo
I,
Kante.
I will keep saying it. He's two in one. Chelsea,
Yeah.
basically it's unfair that they have 12 players on the pitch all the time. Yeah, that's effectively what this guy gives you. I mean, I
Mhm.
don't understand where he gets that energy from.
Energy from, yeah.
It covers well in front of his defense. It covers well when he goes up front, and it's not just about defending anymore. Sometimes he makes runs forward, and you think, "Oh my
Mm.
God, he's going to go all the way." He may not
Mhm.
score goals, but he's so dangerous as a player,
Mm.
and it must be a
Mm.
nightmare playing against him because
Yeah.
he hardly loses a one-on-one, and that is a formidable weapon. And I think I heard there was an interview that Tuchel gave where he said that he's always dreamed, of having a player
N'Golo.
like
Yeah.
Kante in his
Mm.
team, and
Mm.
that basically he's so lucky to have come to a team that already has him. That when he was at his other clubs, he always dreamt of a Kante, of buying Kante, but he
Mm.
never could. He never could do it. But now he comes to a team that already has him. It's like a dream come true. It does
Mm.
make a massive difference. So, if he hadn't started on Saturday, who knows what would have happened. Again,
Exactly.
he was the man of the match. Yes,
Yeah.
Reece James was fantastic. Yeah,
Mm.
I'd give him that. But Kante now, it's almost a given that every time he plays, he's going to give you 150%.
Mm.
And yeah, it must be a joy to have him in your team as manager. And I think that was a massive difference. Going back to Frank, I think Frank. I think with Frank, he just did not have the required experience in the game to be able to organize the team as well as Tuchel has done. Remember, Tuchel has been in the Bundesliga with Mainz,
Right.
uh,
Dortmund.
with Dortmund, and then he went to
Mm.
PSG where he
PSG.
managed a
Yeah.
big team with big expectations before coming to
And big
Chelsea.
big
So
players.
yeah, big players as well. So Tuchel has learned the trade and he has paid his dues.
Mm-hmm.
I think with Frank, the Chelsea job came a bit too early. I think the there's this romantic notion that, oh, you don't have to have had all the experience in the world to make a great manager. I think where that notion comes from is from Pep's time at Guardiola. He went straight
Yes.
from the B team to the
Barca
main
B.
team
Yeah.
and won
Mm-hmm.
everything winnable. But
Mm-hmm.
that team was fantastic.
It
Everything
was.
was there. It had Messi, it had Javi, it had Iniesta, and it had
Iniesta,
Busquets. It had Busquets
Busquets,
sitting at the base of the
PK.
midfield.
Yeah.
That team was it's one of the best teams ever seen in football
Yeah.
history.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
unless you have that, it, well, I mean, some young managers do well. I have to say. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Zidane has done fantastically well at Real Madrid.
Yeah,
Yeah,
even
but
then, Zidane had all the tools with him.
exactly.
He
But
had Ronaldo, he had
yeah,
Bale,
yeah,
Modric,
exactly.
Casemiro, Cruz.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And I
some
think
top
it's
goalkeepers.
it's that Pep experience at Barcelona that many teams, many clubs in Europe are trying to recreate. And my beloved Arsenal are guilty of the same. They think Arteta can be some kind of Pep, but that's another story altogether.
You spoke about N'Golo Conte.
Yeah,
And there's this favorite saying that they say about him: the world is covered by 70% water,
water.
and the rest 30% is by N'Golo
by
Kante.
Kante. Yeah, yeah,
But what what will happen? Say he decides to probably retire, or decides, listen, I want to go back to France. Do you think
yeah.
that will signal the end of Chelsea being a dominant team in
I don't necessarily
the
think
Premier
so.
League?
Chelsea's a machine. Chelsea are blessed with an owner that's got deep pockets. They might not be able to find a replica of Kante, but they will find someone who will do
It
the
might take
job.
time though, because
Yeah,
when we had
yeah,
Makalele, and everyone was saying, "Oh, Makalele was probably the best."
yeah,
We failed with Lassana Diarra. We failed with Alex Smeaton.
yeah,
So many players until
yeah.
even Danny Drinkwater, for God's sake, at one
I
point
mean, I mean,
until he got
Chelsea
Ngolo.
Chelsea won the Champions League final in 2012
12,
without
yeah,
necessarily a Kante type player.
true, true.
I think that team had a was it no Ramirez? No, was it? No, it wasn't.
Yes,
I
the
think it was Ramirez
Raul,
that
yeah,
Ramirez was like the
mm,
holding
yeah,
the
yeah,
team.
yeah,
Yeah,
Ramirez, yeah, the
but
Brazilian.
but that team, despite not having a Kante, they got the job done. Remember,
Mm,
they had Drogba, they had Lampard, so they had
yeah,
Ashley Cole, they had big players. So there might not be a direct replacement for Kante,
mm,
but
mm,
other spots in the team, other players in the team, and some new additions, they will help to compensate. Yeah, for that.
mm.
Yeah. Besides, I don't see him leaving Chelsea soon anyway, because he's not the type that is going to be lured by, say, another club offering him, say,
Money
500 grand a week. I'm sure he's very well paid at Chelsea, so
is one of the.
yeah.
And it's just like you said, he's not that kind of player that probably goes after
Yeah,
money. He's a
everyone
humble
who
fellow.
speaks about Chelsea, speaks about Kante, they speak about how humble, how low
Mm,
maintenance he is. He's
yeah,
just a guy who just does his job and doesn't ask for recognition or praise. He
mm,
just does his
mm,
job, and he does
mm,
it really well. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
We're going to go on a quick short break. And when we come, well, obviously, I want us to take a look at our Frank Lampard and what the future holds for him. One,
yeah,
and also take a look at Barcelona's newest signing. Can you believe that? Few days
yeah,
after losing out, after he said, I was never going to leave Man City until I win the Champions League. Well, they
yeah,
didn't win it. He already said he was leaving, and he decided, okay, that's it for me. Everyone, it was an open secret anyway that I was going to
yeah, yeah,
Barcelona. So Sergio Aguero is now a Barcelona
yeah. Player,
player, and
yeah,
it's been confirmed. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about where next for Pep.
yeah.
Another 400 million to show off the defense and probably get an
Yeah,
attacker. All right, so just stay
yeah,
there. We're going to go on a quick break, and when we
yeah.
come back, we take
Yeah,
about these
yeah,
other issues.
yeah.
Welcome back. It's still the Football Show Monday. My name is Wale, and still got for with me, Yemi Afolaji, who is a seasoned journalist and also a fanatical Arsenal fan, who today is discussing Chelsea. Okay, let's discussing Chelsea today. Yemi, don't worry. It will be your turn soon. It
Yeah,
will be
man.
your turn soon. You'll be celebrating
Our time.
Champions League.
Yeah, our time will come.
After we come. Okay, so before we went on a short break, we said we are going to talk about Frank Lampard and what's next for So, Yemi, he, give or take, he did what he could with Chelsea.
Yeah,
Okay, the first season he got them to fourth.
yeah,
Well, because Leicester decided to turn to Spurs, and just choked on fourth
uh,
position. This
yeah,
same season, again, Leicester choked on,
yeah,
instead of coming
yeah.
fourth. So, and there have been talks about Celtic in Scotland. There have been talks about
Crystal Palace.
Crystal Palace. There
Yeah.
have been talks about West Brom and, Sheffield United, wherever. What do you think is the right? Obviously, the England under 20 team, under 20 or
Okay.
21
Yeah.
team. So, do you see rate Frank Lampard as a top manager, and ideally
I
where
w-
should he be going now?
yeah. I mean, I think if somebody is still learning the ropes,
Mm,
and I think a big job offer came calling in by the way of Chelsea. Yeah, it would have been stupid not to have accepted it, because
yeah.
people have called him like, oh, he can't, he's not up to the challenge. He had to
Hmm.
accept it, but the
Yeah.
job turned out to be too big for him.
Hmm.
Now, having said that, I think that he can still build his way back, but obviously he'd have to take. He's not going to get any of the top four clubs again. But at the moment, at least.
Yeah.
But I mean, if I heard that Palace were going to offer him a job, and I have a feeling that he's probably not going to accept it. But I don't know the full details of that yet. I
Hmm.
think that would be just the right kind of challenge for him,
Hmm.
because they're a well-run club. They've got really good players. Yes, they're a team who always finish sort of like the lower half of the league, but this is your chance to show that you are capable of, really, really competing at the top level by taking Crystal Palace from a team that survives relegation every season to somewhere higher up in the table, maybe
Probably mid-table.
mid-table up to maybe like the eighth position. Sort of like try to
Mhm.
do what uh, Nuno Espirito has done with
Done with
Wolves.
Wolves. Yeah.
Yeah, he sort of like brought them up from the Championship at Wolves, that is, and
Mm,
established them as a Premier League team
mhm.
without playing, negative football. They're a good side with good players.
Yeah.
He's got good connections in Portugal, so he gets all the good Portuguese players to come and play for him. And they're a
Mhm.
team that all the big teams find really difficult to play against. This season,
Yes.
they haven't done so well, but
Mhm.
last season they were fantastic. Last season, they
Mhm.
even finished ahead of Arsenal. So
Wow.
yeah, so he's established a reputation for himself now. The next job for Nuno Espirito is probably going to be something bigger than Wolves. So
Mhm.
I think Lampard should take the Palace job, you know, establish them in the Premier League as a formidable force. Obviously, they're not going to be getting in the top four either, but you know,
Mm.
with the right recruitment and the right coaching, if he's good enough, he'll be able to do what Nuno has done with Wolves. But
Mm.
then, if he's not able to get any more out of Palace than Roy Hodgson has done, then maybe he's just maybe Frank is just a good manager, not a great manager. So
Mhm.
that's the way I see it. Yeah, because
E-
if yeah, go on. Sorry.
England manager one day, probably.
He'll have to prove himself at club level before he can get the England manager job, unless he
Mm.
wants to go straight to the under 21s, and
Mhm.
then if he does really well with the under 21s, then maybe he can succeed Southgate, because Southgate, club level experience, club management experience is not really that
Mhm.
great. I think he managed Middlesbrough.
Yeah, yeah, but
He,
okay.
it wasn't. His record with them wasn't great. I think
Mm.
Southgate has gotten this job on the strength of his performance with the under 21s,
Mhm.
if I'm not mistaken. So if he wants to go down the international manager route, then he can take the under 20 job. Maybe do really well with them at the under 20 European Championship, and then he can take the England job after Southgate, maybe.
Mm.
But I think something tells me that he will want to prove himself at club level. But now
Mm.
he faces a what I call a dilemma, because his managerial career has happened the wrong way round.
Mm.
He started no, he had a derby job, but he then went straight to Chelsea.
Mm.
Things didn't work out in Chelsea, so the chances of him getting, say, a job with Liverpool or Man United or Spurs
Spurs.
or Arsenal is very pretty much nil.
Mm.
So usually what happens is that you go from Derby, you do well with them, then you go to Villa, you do well with them, then you get the job at Leicester, you do well with them, and then
Mm.
you can get a Liverpool or a Man United or a Chelsea job. But
Yeah.
is is handled a big club. The job has come too soon for him, and because it didn't go well, if he now has a problem, because sometimes there's
Mm.
nowhere to go after that. I mean, just look at Gary Neville. He went to Valencia. It was an absolute disaster, and now I don't think he's ever going to be a manager again.
And I
So
doubt it.
yeah, I
I
mean,
doubt it.
Thierry Henry went to Monaco. It didn't work well. I know he got a job in
Mm.
the US, but it's going to be very difficult for these guys to get big jobs in Europe. They'll have to prove
Mm.
themselves first at some level with a club before
Mm.
any big club can give them jobs. That's just how it
Mm.
works. That's how it
Mm.
works. Yeah.
And not to forget that TT Theory has gone back to Belgium now as an
Yeah.
assistant
Yeah.
manager where he was before.
Yeah.
So we did say we are going to talk about the newest Barcelona recruit. Now they got Aguero, they got their man.
Mm.
So wanted to. Is Messi going to stay? If Messi's going to stay, is Ronald Koeman going to stay? If Koeman is not going to stay, who the heck is going to take over at Barcelona?
Oh, Barcelona is just in a terrible mess right now. They've got
Mm.
so much debt. I think something close to €1 billion or
Mm.
something ridiculous like that. I think the the decline has been steadily happening for years. I
Mm.
think when they reached those heady heights of winning the Champions League in 2009 and 2011, and then I think they won it again in 2015 against Juve in the final. It's as if they felt that that was going to last forever. They didn't really
Mm.
plan for
Mm.
what will come after this fantastic generation of players that came out of their
Mm.
academy. you
Mm.
know these nothing lasts. You've got to plan, you've got to evolve your team no matter how good your players are. They got to a stage. Javi retired, or he left the club. He went to sort of like play retirement football, so to speak, in Qatar. Yeah.
Mm.
And then the same happened with Iniesta. So the pieces were gradually being taken out. All those cogs that made them this formidable force was being removed bit by bit. Then
Mm.
David Villa left, Puyol left. I think they tried to replace some of them. They still had Piqué, but they brought in Longley and so they weren't quite up to the level of the. It wasn't quite up to the level of Puyol. Now,
Mm.
Busquets is somebody that is still there, but he's been steadily declining for years.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, he's not what he used to be. He doesn't have the game has become quite. Uh, yeah, I wouldn't say physical. It's quite athletic in the
Mm.
sense that uh, the approach to the game went from tiki taka. The winning approach went from tiki
Yeah.
taka to the high press, the Gengen press by Jurgen Klopp,
Mm.
which he first established at Dortmund,
Yeah.
and then he took it to another level with Liverpool. So that
Mm.
high energy game, which
Mm.
requires constant running for 90 minutes, it
Mm.
basically it was what brought about the end of Barcelona. They could not cope. Yeah,
Mm.
that's
Mm.
why every year they tend to lose really badly in the Champions League.
Yeah.
Like like I remember the year that Bayern Munich won the champion, not last season, the year they won it before this last one. On their way to the final, they beat Barcelona 7-0
82.
aggregate.
Yeah.
They beat Barcelona, I think 4-0, 3-0 in Germany, and then 4-0 at the new camp. It was ridiculous. And this was that year that Bayern beat Dortmund in the final. This is like, I'm talking like 2000 and it's sort of like, I don't know whether it was 2013 or something, or 2000 or 2014. So that happened then, but then they fixed things. They got Luis Enrique, and then they won the Champions League, beating Juve in the final. But then they did not build on that, and then the decline has just been really, really rapid since then. Remember that the season that Liverpool won the Champions League, they beat Roma 3. I think it was 3-0
Yeah.
nil at the new camp, 3-0 or 3,
Mm.
and then they lost the
And
second
Roma.
leg 4-0.
Yeah. 4-0. Yeah.
The following year, they beat Liverpool.
3-0.
Yeah, sorry, that first one was actually the year Real Madrid won, but the second, the following year, which Liverpool won, they beat Liverpool 3-0 at the Nou Camp and lost 4-0 at home. They just have this. They just have this tendency to collapse really badly outside of the Nou Camp, and then the following year, last season, they were crushed by Bayern Munich 8-2. And all these teams that are beating them have one thing in common. They play the really aggressive, athletic Gengen press.
In your face, yeah.
Yeah, they are really in your face. They don't let you pass the ball out of the back. And that's what tiki-taka was about. So they failed to evolve, and that's why they can no longer compete. And this season, the Champions League, they lost 4-1 at home to PSG. And in the second leg, they can only manage a 1-1. So they failed to evolve. Messi now seems to be the only one carrying the team. Everyone else seems to have declined. Busquets is not what he used to be anymore. He doesn't have the legs anymore. The defenders are not up to the level of what they used to have. Jordi Alba, we used to get up and down the left side. He's aging. They've not really found an adequate replacement for Dani Alves since he left. They've got some young boys now who are quite promising. They've got Ansu Fati, Sergino Dest, and some other guys. But those guys it will still take a few more years before you could say that they're ready to play against the very best in Europe. But I mean, they came third in the league. It's not a disaster, but right now in Europe, they're not amongst the best 4, 5, 6, even 6 teams. So I would say Barcelona at best now, probably, I don't know, because of their debt, they find themselves with a lot of players that they want to get rid of, but they can't. They paid how much for Coutinho? 100 and something ridiculous, like 130 or 140 million. Dembele hasn't really produced what they were expecting, and he's still young, so they're not sure whether they want to keep him or not. And he's got pretty poor injury record. So they need to evolve from Sergio Busquets. He's as good as he is, you need to evolve. I mean, it takes me back to those teams that Alex Ferguson had at Old Trafford. Those teams, he won the Premier League 13 times. So he built about 4 or 5 different teams, and he never at one point felt, this player is really good, I'm just going to keep him just because he's good. No, he evolved those teams. He got rid of players and got new ones in. He never let the players rest on their laurels. He never let the team get complacent, because it was always freshening things up, and that's what Barcelona have failed to do. Now they find themselves in a situation where they've got all these really young players, not quite ready for the top level yet. They're just about good enough to compete in La Liga and finish in Champions League positions, but to compete with the strong teams of Europe now, with Bayern, and Man City and all the other big clubs. They're not quite there yet, and I'm not sure who's going to be. I'm not sure. I mean, Koeman's. I'm not really sure whether Koeman's the right man for the job. I'm not really sure. I mean, he's a club legend and all that, but with all these coaches out there right now, the kind of football that is played right now, I'm not sure whether Koeman's the right man. But I mean, who knows? Who knows? Maybe they've got big plans for the summer, and they've also got the club is also very politically run.
Exactly.
You have a president who promises that, yeah, okay, I'll buy players and all that, but the president, yeah, is not a trained manager. He's not a trained coach. They have this habit of buying players for their managers, without stopping to think that, is this what the manager wants? Is this player that I want to buy going to fit into how this manager wants to play? So, maybe they need to, I mean, it's those clubs, Real Madrid and Barcelona will always be political. So, but I just think that sometimes they need to let the managers, make the choice, do their job, and make the choice of players that they want for their teams, for the way that they want to play. Yeah, I think Messi is going to stay anyway. I think he's going to stay. Yeah, I think he's going to, because I think, I mean, if we were talking about Man City, well, I don't know. I mean, do Man City really need him? I mean, don't get me wrong. Messi's still fantastic. He's still Messi. He's probably still the best out there, but they don't really need him. They have a way that they play. Pep likes his runners, his players will press. Messi probably doesn't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think they need him. I think they probably will be looking at more in a direction of a striker. Somebody that can cause 25, 30 goals a season for them. So I don't think they will go for Messi. I mean, and the cost of acquiring Messi as well, it's staggering.
It's astronomical.
Yeah,
and also the wages and all.
His wages, yeah, and you'll have to get around financial fair play to get him. So I think he'll just stay at Barcelona. I think he'll stay there, and I think he'll seek assurances that they're going to strengthen the team before committing his future to Barcelona. But I don't really see which other club can really put out the outlay of finances needed to sign Messi. Only Man City or PSG could probably afford it, and I don't see those clubs doing it. Yeah.
Okay. If I don't know if Bumi or Mark are on to join us. Bumi, it will be interesting to probably gauge your the mood of Chelsea's victory in Nigeria, if you can join us. And Mark, as a Chelsea fan, it will be also good to gauge your mood, more separate from mine, obviously, because I want to be as impartial as ever. So if you can also it'd be good to gauge your. So I'm really sorry, Bumi, that we're not able to. I think due to some connection problems, you've dropped off. But Mark, if you can still get back to us, it'd be nice to get your mood. I can never tire seeing this picture. I never tire seeing it. The best team in Europe at the moment. Well, arguably, we won the Champions League, so I dare say we are the best team in Europe at the moment. Where do you think this Chelsea team, is to strengthen now? I know the team has struggled to score goals.
Yeah.
You can imagine Jorginho is actually the top scorer
in
the Premier League with 7 goals and all penalties.
That was a stat that absolutely surprised me.
It's very surprising.
I thought it was going to be one of the forwards, like a Mount or Pulisic. I was surprised at it
makes no sense now that Chelsea would need to have a striker. We need to buy a striker. We've heard stories of Erling Haaland, Rome Lukaku coming back home.
Yeah, I heard that today as well. Yeah.
Lewandowski. What other player? Aguero was in the mix until he decided. I knew Aguero wasn't going to come. Wasn't going to leave Man City and come to Chelsea. No. Harry Kane, yes, what's another person
Yeah,
that we're actually
yeah.
talking about. But knowing Daniel Levy,
He
you
wouldn't want to
probably
do
have to
business
sell
with
Daniel.
Chelsea.
Yeah, you probably have to sell Daniel before he sells Harry Kane to us. So,
Yeah, yeah. I think there are
what
two
do you think?
teams.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there are two teams that Daniel will refuse to do business with, Chelsea and Man United.
Mm,
But with the right offer, he would sell. Whether these clubs will make that offer that he would be expecting for Harry Kane is
mm,
another matter.
mm,
So
mm,
I think yes. Going back to your question about what Chelsea needs, I think it's obvious. Chelsea need a striker, a prolific one, and
yeah.
I mean a Harry Kane in that team would make them the perfect team.
Mm,
So, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's probably heading towards City, unless for some reason Pep decides that he still doesn't need a striker, because Pep, yeah, he might just do that. So which leaves the question, where would he go?
mm.
Because I don't think I think I think if Man City don't come for him, I don't know. It might happen to go to either
Well, to Chelsea.
Chelsea or Man United, but
Oh,
then
okay.
he's got to be willing to be to be hated for life by Spurs fans. That
Exactly.
because that's what will happen if he goes to Chelsea. He will only
Mm.
be number two to Sol Campbell on the hate list if he does
Exactly.
if he goes to Chelsea, because Sol
Yeah.
Campbell went to their worst enemy,
And in
and
Arsenal. Yeah.
and if Kane goes to Chelsea, he'll be going to the second worst enemy. So
Mm,
yeah, so I still don't know what's going to happen with the Harry Kane thing, but one thing is clear: Chelsea definitely need a striker. Whether they can get Haaland, because I think Haaland he has a clause in his contract which allows him to go for 60 something million, but that clause
mm.
does not kick in until not next season, the season after.
Yeah.
Clubs might just be waiting for that. They might wait an
Mm.
extra year because let's face it, he's
Yeah.
only 20. They
Hmm.
Clubs will wait for that. But what I suspect is that Dortmund will find a way to get him to agree to another contract so that he doesn't go for that what is will be seen as a very cheap amount of
Small
money.
amount of money. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
because they would be expecting 150 or something for someone of that quality and of
And age.
an age. They want
Yeah.
to get a lot of money. I mean, they got about 100 million for Dembele. They will be
Mm.
expecting a lot more for Haaland.
Holland. Yeah.
So I think Kane, Haaland, and Lewandowski, they're sort of like the top three strikers in Europe now.
And Lukaku, 33 goals in Serie A.
Lukaku is an option for Chelsea because I think Inter are going through a bit of a phase at the moment where they're trying to raise money, and I think this
Yes.
is what forced Antonio Conte to
Conte.
resign.
Mm.
And I think he was instructed that he needs to sell players and raise 100 million. So if the
Mm.
new guy, Inzaghi, coming in,
Inzaghi. Yeah.
he's probably going to have to do that, you know. So Lukaku might be one of the players they might be thinking of selling, and
Mm.
it will represent a cheaper option for Chelsea. He's
Well,
still going to be
they're saying Inter are
he's still
saying
going.
that they're not taking anything less than 100 mil, but 100 mil for Lukaku is it worth that kind of money at this
Look,
moment? A lot of people talk about his first touch. That's
it's
horrendous.
yeah. They say it's bad, but the thing
Mm.
is, that the market is the
Mm.
football, the transfer market is so distorted these days.
Yeah.
It's always been distorted. It's been but it went completely mad following Neymar's move to PSG
Mm.
for almost 200 million pounds. So everything then has been skewed since then.
Yeah.
So you know Pepe costing 72 million, Havertz costing 75 million. The goalkeeper for Liverpool, Alisson, cost almost
And,
70 million.
and don't
Yeah,
forget Kepa. Kepa is
yeah.
most
So
expensive goalkeeper in the world now.
yeah, exactly. So the market is crazy. So imagine Kepa going for about 70 odd million.
Hmm.
Who's to say Lukaku is not worth 100? If we're going to look at it that way. So I don't think any of these players are worth what they're being, what the clubs are paying for them. But
Mm.
it's the market that
Mm.
dictates it, and agents as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, I mean, let me
Yeah,
just quickly take Bumi and as it dropped off again, I think he came in. Bumi, if you
yeah,
are
yeah.
still watching,
I saw his name pop
try,
up, and then it went off again. Yeah.
if you can, just let us just quickly know what the gauge is, what the scene is regarding Chelsea victory in Nigeria is. Bumi, if you can hear us, hello, how are you today? Hello,
Yeah.
Bumi, in Nigeria, can you hear us?
I don't think he can hear. Is the connection is doesn't seem to be good.
Yes, really, really bad. All right, okay. So, Yemi, I think we've got about 8 minutes to go. So,
Uh,
so we've said about the this striker's role for Chelsea. Definitely need a
yeah,
striker to score the goals. Timo has been kind of like poor this season.
yeah,
Well, like Timo Werner that we knew at RB Leipzig.
yeah.
Um, so apart from the striker's role, there have been talks about Chelsea probably needing another central defender. Why would they want to get another central defender?
It might be because Thiago Silva is 36. It might be that
But they
because
see they've
he's
got
the leader of
Christensen,
that. Yeah, they got
they've got Zuma, they've got
and
Rudiger, they've got
Rudiger.
Tomori in AC Milan. They got Maguire that plays regularly for Swansea, another top player. They've got about five central defenders.
They do.
Dave Aspikulecha could also still play as a central defender. So
Yeah.
why would they need? And
Personally,
these names I've
yeah,
mentioned to you now will probably go into probably any top six,
yeah, uh,
bar City and Liverpool.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think because Thiago Silva was sort of like the leader of the defense. It was sort of like the
Mm,
organize. It made them better in
mm,
terms of organization. Yeah. So they're looking at the fact that, but I personally think Rudiger can take over that role
yes.
because he's got the leadership qualities. I mean, from
Mm,
what I've observed, but
mm,
it might be that they're planning for because he's going to be 37 next season, so they're
yeah. And I mean,
thinking,
he's been offered another year though.
okay, so
He's been
yeah,
offered another year. So.
I think I agree with you that for now they don't
Mhm.
need another central defender. They're fully stocked in that department. To be honest, the only two areas where I would say Chelsea probably might be looking at definitely the striker, and then I think Chelsea fans especially are not fully convinced about
Jorginho.
Jorginho. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's probably the only other area. But apart from that, the teams. I mean, I'll have to give it to Frank. He went to the market and got really really good players. He
Mm,
got some really really good players. I mean, obviously, I know that the the managements and the agents were all involved. But perhaps they were not all Frank's choices. But
mm,
he was the manager when all those players came in. You know, so they have recruited really well. I know that I think shortly. I think Pulisic came under the Italian manager.
Sarri, Mauricio Sarri.
Sarri, Mauricio
Mm,
Sarri, yeah, and then they got Ziyech, they got Timo
mm.
Werner, they got Havertz.
Ah, that's,
I mean that is those are
and
really really
Ben
young.
Chilwell.
Ben Chilwell, those are really really young players
Mm.
that could play at the top level for another 8 to 10 years.
Yeah.
So they're all right in terms of wing, in the wing areas and attacking midfield. So yeah, they've done really well in those areas. It's just they just need a number nine. That's all. So
Mm,
I mean, for Giroud, it's basically a lack of pace.
mm,
His
mm.
finishing is good, but he just lacks the pace. And I think with Abraham, they just don't feel that he's quite there yet. So I think that's why they're probably looking at the Lukaku's or the Kanes or the Haalands of this world. But I think,
Mm,
yeah, that's
mm,
one area where they will definitely need to strengthen because at right back, they've got a young Reece James. At left back, they've got a young Ben Chilwell. And he's got Alonso as backup to him. And
mm,
then even at right back, Aspilicueta. is still there,
Mhm.
who can play as right back or in a back three. So they're all right everywhere, really. They've got a good mix of experience and youth. So
Mm.
it's just a striker.
Mm.
That's all. That's the final piece of
Um,
the puzzle. Yeah.
Sorry, Bumi, can you hear us now? You're back with us? Hello, Bumi? Okay. All right. I think we're just rounding up now to this session for today. I want to say special thanks to Yemi
Thank you for
for
having
coming on the
me.
show. Yemi, I hope you're going to join us next week because next week, well, I actually want us to look into the problem at Arsenal, and
Okay.
see the way forward. As an
Mhm.
Arsenal fan, we'll be keen to hear what the way forward. Bumi, if you can still hear us, can you still hear us, Bumi? Just take a quick word from you. If not, then if you can please join us next week. We'll be having Yemi back with us. We'll be talking about Arsenal. I know Bumi is also an Arsenal fan, though he used to work with Chelsea at some point in his life. I don't know what an Arsenal fan was doing working at Chelsea anyway, but but
we sent we sent him there as a spy.
as a spy, indeed, indeed. So, Yemi, thank you so much for joining us on today's show.
Thanks for
See you
having me on your
next
show,
week.
man.
Next week,
Yeah.
we will hope to have you in and to talk about Arsenal and the way forward and what you guys need to be doing. I know
Yeah.
7 days is a long time. We don't know what's going to happen. I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably would have gotten rid of
Arteta.
Arteta and probably bringing
No,
Conte.
I don't think that's gonna happen in the next 7 days. I don't think
Okay,
so.
so yeah, we're gonna
Yeah.
talk about Arsenal next week, and obviously
Yep.
talk about the outlay and outlook for whatever has happened in the world of football
Yeah.
for the week. So thank you so much, Yemi, for joining
Yeah.
us, and
Thank you.
special
Thank
thanks
you.
also to Bumi and Mark. I'm sorry we couldn't get you in. Hopefully, maybe next week, Mark. And Bumi, you'll be joining us too. Special thanks to everyone that's made comments today that's watching us. Hope you thoroughly enjoyed the football show today. Jaden, Sandra, and Olajumoke, thank you for joining us. My other special thanks goes to my colleague and friend, Yomi Omokeja, who is behind the scene, making sure you can hear me clearly and obviously you can see me. It's a football show. If you enjoyed the edition today, please don't forget to subscribe to us, like it, and tell someone about us. Football show comes up every Monday at 8 p.m. UK time. All right. Hope to see you next week and keep watching football. I know it's a beautiful game, they say. All right. Remain beautiful. See you next week. Have a nice week. Bye.